Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Thank you. Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Buddhika Acharya Ashtottara Tadashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Buddhika Acharya Ashtottara Tadashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadiriyet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord who is glorified in transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Now I think it's 16, is it right? Is it the right one? 26, excuse me. Yeah, but I mean, is that the right verse? I don't remember chanting this one. Yes, it got quite a lengthy translation. You're not sure? Yeah, we're okay. We're good. Okay. All right. On this 16th day of January 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Canto 6, Prescribed Duties for Mankind, Chapter 4, the Hamsa Guhya Prayers, text number 26. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yado Paramo Manaso Nama Rupa Rupasya Drishta Smriti Sampramoshat Yaiyate Kevalaya Swasangstaya Hangsaya Tasmai Shuchi Sadmane Namaha. Yado Paramo Manaso Nama Rupa Rupasya Drishta Smriti Sampramoshat Yaiyate Kevalaya Swasangstaya Hangsaya Tasmai Shuchi Sadmane Namaha. Yado Paramo Manaso Nama Rupa Rupasya Drishta Smriti Sampramoshat Yaiyate Kevalaya Swasangstaya Hangsaya Tasmai Shuchi Sadmane Namaha. Yado Paramo Manaso Nama Rupa Rupasya Drishta Smriti Sampramoshat Yaiyate Kevalaya Swasangstaya Hangsaya Tasmai Shuchi Sadmane Namaha. Yado Paramo Manaso Nama Rupa Rupasya Drishta Smriti Sampramoshat Yaiyate Kevalaya Swasangstaya Hangsaya Tasmai Shuchi Sadmane Namaha. Yado Paramo Manaso Nama Rupa Rupasya Drishta Smriti Sampramoshat Yaiyate Kevalaya Swasangstaya Hangsaya Tasmai Shuchi Sadmane Namaha. Yeah. Anyone else out there? Okay. Yada, when in trance. Uparamaha, complete cessation. Manasaha, of the mind. Nama rupa, material names and forms. Rupasya, of that by which they appear. Drishta, of material vision. Smriti, and of remembrance. Sampramoshat, due to the destruction. Yaha, who? The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Iyate, is perceived. Kevalaya, with spiritual. Swasangstaya, his own original form. Hangsaya, unto the Supreme Pure. Tasmai, unto him. Shuchi Sadmane, who is realized only in the pure state of spiritual existence. Namaha, I offer my respectful obeisances. Translation. When one's consciousness is completely purified of the contamination of material existence, gross and subtle, without being agitated as in the working and dreaming states, and when the mind is not dissolved as in sushupti, deep sleep, one comes to the platform of trance. Then one's material vision and the memories of the mind, which manifests names and forms, are vanquished. Only in such a trance is the Supreme Personality of Godhead revealed. Thus let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seen in that uncontaminated transcendental state. Purport. There are two stages of God realization. One is called sugyayam, or very easily understood, generally by mental speculation. And the other is called durgyayam, understood only with difficulty. Paramatma realization and Brahman realization are considered sugyayam, but realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is durgyayam. As described here, one attains the ultimate realization of the Personality of Godhead when one gives up the activities of the mind, thinking, feeling, and willing, or in other words, when mental speculation stops. This transcendental realization is above sushupti, deep sleep. In our gross conditional stage, we perceive things through material experience and remembrance. And in the subtle stage, we perceive the world in dreams. The process of vision also involves remembrance and also exists in a subtle form. Above gross experience and dreams is sushupti, deep sleep. And when one comes to the completely spiritual platform, transcending deep sleep, he attains trance, Vishuddha Sattva, or Vasudev Sattva, in which the Personality of Godhead is revealed. Atak Shri Krishna Namadi Namabe Grayam Indriyai. As long as one is situated in duality, on the sensual platform, gross or subtle, realization of the original Personality of Godhead is impossible. Sevan mukhe hijibado swayam evas puratyadah. But when one engages his senses in the service of the Lord, specifically when one engages the tongue in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and tasting only Krishna prasadam with a spirit of service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is revealed. This is indicated in this verse by the word Shuchi Sadmane. Shuchi means purified. By the spirit of rendering service with one's senses, one's entire existence becomes Shuchi Sadma, the platform of uncontaminated purity. Daksha therefore offers his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is revealed on the platform of Shuchi Sadma. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes the following prayer by Lord Brahma from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.6. Tatapi bhuman mahimagunasya te vibodham arhat yamalantaratmabihi. Okay. One whose heart has become completely purified, my Lord, can understand the transcendental qualities of your Lordship and can understand the greatness of your activities. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Shri Parampara. So this is Durvasa's offering of these Hamsaguya prayers, and he's giving us some very important information, which is not unique. We hear similar things in the Bhagavad Gita, especially in chapter 6, about the quieting of the mind. When the mind is free from all its agitation by the modes of nature and memories and dreams and all of these different things, then one can come to the point of trance. You may recall in chapter 6, there's a very nice description of trance, that in this state, one's mind is completely fixed on the Lord, and he enjoys transcendental bliss through transcendental senses, and the intelligence is also fixed on Krishna. And Prabhupada's favorite line from this section is, Yang Lagvala Chapanam Labam Manyade Nadikam Tata. Having attained this state, one thinks there is no further attainment. In other words, one is completely satisfied in being completely absorbed in thought of Krishna. So, but as we learned from chapter 6, this is not an easy platform to come to by meditation and basically by force and by will, controlling the senses, controlling the mind, fixing it on Krishna. And that's why Arjuna rejects it. Chantalam himana Krishna pramati balabhadradham tasyam nigraham manye vayuriva tuduskaram. He says, my mind, I don't think I could do this, Krishna. My mind is very, very flickering. Chantalam himana. It's very stubborn, very willful of its own. It's more difficult to control than a hurricane, than a wind. Like we have these little winds here, but they've been really big storms up north. You know, you've probably been reading about it. It overpowers you. You know, you're walking along. I just simple little thing. I'm walking along with my umbrella this morning. There was a major south wind blowing horizontally, you know, and I had to, like this, to go against the wind. And that's what we used to call bupkis, compared to the trying to control the mind. So, but if one can reach this state of trance, samadhi, vishuddha sattva, means extremely pure existence. And it's called the Vasudeva state because in that existence Krishna appears. Just like Krishna appeared to Vasudeva in the dungeon of Kamsa. So it's called the Vasudeva state. And so he's describing that, then he offers obeisances. So then Prabhupada talks in the purport about Sugyayam and Durgyayam, different realizations of God. And we learn from near the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, that the sages understand that the absolute truth is realized in 3 stages according to one's means of approach. Those who know the truth say this. The tattva vidas vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavantiti sabhyate. The first realization is the white light, the Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence of the Supreme. No details. That's what nirvishesha means when we say nirvishesha shunyavadi. Prabhupada is saving us from these misconceptions of the Absolute that don't give any details. What is, is it a person? And there's no variety. This is what the Brahma Jyoti is all about. And why are some persons attracted to that? That's explained in 4th chapter, in the purport of the 4th chapter, text 10. What is that? Vita raga bhaya krodha manmaya mama pashchata bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagata. This is the verse. This phrase appears several times in the Gita. It's important for us. Vita raga bhaya krodha. Being free from attachment, fear, and anger. And it's important that it always begins with attachment. It's from attachment that attachment means to the sense gratification that you become on the bodily platform. And as soon as you're on the bodily platform, fear arises. As soon as some danger to the body which is danger at every step in this material world, then you can become fearful. You will become fearful. That's the nature of this material world. So, and if your desires, your raga is frustrated, you become angry. Now, in that purport is very illuminating. Prabhupada gives explanation why the impersonalists and the voidists and the out-and-out materialists aren't interested in Krishna. So the first one is raga. 99.9999% of the people are so involved in trying to survive in this world, give the body its needs, food, clothing, and shelter, whatever, that if you try to interest them in transcendental matters, say, I don't have time, I'm too involved. The mind is too involved in that. So that's the first thing. And people generally think if you rise out of that, you still see your interest in terms of the body and the mind. How can I become happy? How can I become comfortable? How can I get this object of sense gratification, whether it's a woman or a man or foodstuffs or a million different things. So that blocks your interest in devotional life. It's described, if you're too much in the modes of passion and ignorance, you're not receptive to the message of Godhead. Then there's those who realize that this is crazy. If I just do that, then I'll take another birth and I'll suffer like anything. These are the impersonalists. But they identify having a form, having a personality with the material body. This is the thing. So they're very afraid of getting a material body in the next life. They think that we have to negate that. And so the Absolute must be without senses, without forms. And so they're attracted to the impersonal Brahman. This is the impersonalists, whether it's out-and-out Mayavadis or others. So that's out of fear of having another material form. So they reject the idea of the varieties, and that Krishna is a person, and we're also persons in our Absolute. No, I don't want to be a person anymore. That's why they're impersonalists. Then there's anger. And anger, Prabhupada says, is like the voidists. Voidists are mostly the Buddhists who idealize that ultimately we don't exist, and that's the ultimate goal. Just to, Prabhupada always use dismantle. Just dismantle this body and dismantle the sense of self surrounding any kind of substance. And Prabhupada says that they're angry because they've been cheated so much in different philosophies. So they take the way of just negating all philosophy and all activity and all consciousness, even, and just idealizing voidism, So all of those three have to be overcome. One has to hear from the right source and take part in the process by which the Lord can be so nicely worshipped, the Absolute Truth nicely worshipped, with details, Krishna's forms, pastimes, prasadam, name, deities, all the things. It's completely personal. You read the Nectar Devotion or the Krishna book, so many details, 64 different qualities of Krishna, Ayam neta suram yanga sarva salakshanamvita. This is just the list. A suram yanga means his body is supremely beautiful. And then there's a description in the Nectar Devotion of a verse expanding on that, how Krishna's body is so beautiful. How all when they had the Rajasuya sacrifice, those who saw Krishna enter in, they thought, oh, Lord Brahma has ended his, they thought Krishna was a human being, has ended his creative efforts in this beautiful form of Krishna. So it goes on in it, 64 qualities, 25 qualities of Radharani, and so many different Leela happening every day. Everything is more details than we can even, But that's what attracts your mind away from the material energy. Every transcendentalist knows that you have to embrace Vairagya. Vairagya doesn't necessarily mean renunciation in the sense of Tyaga. There's an important distinction. In the 18th chapter, we learn especially because Krishna talks about Tyaga. We also have Tyaga. Tyaga means literally giving up. No illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, no meat eating. We literally give those up. But more, which is important, obviously, foundational. But in our philosophy, the cultivation of Vairagya is really the coin of the realm, so to speak. And that means no attraction
for the things. We give up intoxication. I still want to get intoxicated, but I know I'm not going to do it because it's the wrong thing to do. But the desire is still there. Now, in Krishna consciousness, if you practice devotional service, the desire goes also. That's really what you want, because if you have that desire, when you leave your body, that's going to bring you back to another material body. So the desire, the heart has to be purified. And so that you get to the point of Yamunacharya, and what is it? Yadabadi Mambacheta Krishna Pada Davinde Nabanamana Sadhama Nuditam Rantamasi. He's saying, ever since I've been enjoying moment to moment the pleasure of serving Krishna's lotus feet, then whenever I happen to remember, because your mind bubbles will come up, you know. I remember my association with women, because he had a whole harem. He was a king, you know. I just spit at the thought. It's not like I have to draw my mind away from that. Are you kidding? You know, that's abominable. That's the standard. Because then when you leave your body in that state, there's no question of you know, those desires coming up and bringing you to another body. Rather, your desire to serve Krishna, glorify the Lord, you know, serve the devotees, all that will take you to the spiritual world. So, that's Durgayam, understood only with difficulty. Paramatma realization of Brahman is considered easy to understand, but realization of the personality of Godhead is Durgayam. Because you have to get past these three, Raga, Bhaya, and Krodha. And that's the process of devotional service helps you to do that. Because you get off the bodily platform. You're not identifying with this. I've just been working with, you know, going over the Bhagavad Gita with my associates on the BBT editorial board and my referees, the editorial review panel, you know, which is a blue ribbon panel. I'm not going to name them all, but some of the highest PhD sannyasis in ISKCON. Anyway, so we're in reviewing chapter 5. Yes, chapter 5, and it's chapter 4, and saying there's nothing that is greater than transcendental knowledge. And that knowledge, when one is mature in devotional service, he experiences it and enjoys it. Prabhupada enjoys it within himself. In other words, that knowledge means constant remembrance of Krishna. And the whole philosophy, understanding your place in the universe, how the modes of nature are working, all that is your frame of reference for living. And why should I ever forget Krishna? It's such a pleasure to remember him and glorify him amongst devotees. This is also very important. It says, how can we reach this state? And very kind of significantly, Devasa, he's ordering these prayers, but it's after this that he has a big argument with Narada Muni. You know, because he's in charge of populating the universe. He's specifically, not Devasa, Daksha. He's empowered, he's expert, Daksha means expert, at procreating. And he wants to engage, later on, he wants to engage his sons in that. He has 10,000 sons, the Haryasvas. And traditionally, just as the Prachetas were sent away to perform austerities to become qualified to propagate, so these Haryasvas are sent away to, you know, Bhadrak Ashram or something, you know. But who comes along? Narada Muni. And he gives them a kind of a riddle. He instructs them in a riddle. And they're really smart and they can understand the riddle. And basically what the punchline of the riddle is that we don't want to get involved in karmic activity, just like the 4 Kumaras. You know, Brahma also had a problem. He has to fill this universe with all of these living entities who would have to take up their karmic lives again, right, when the creation takes place. So it's a big job, it's a big headache. So he has children. His first children come out of the Kumaras. And they want to stay Kumara. Kumaras, they're millions of years old, but they look like 5-year-olds. Why did they do that? By their mystic power? They're so full of knowledge. And they understand that if we grow up, and then he wants us to have children, we get entangled in family life. No, thank you. You know? And the Kumaras are Shakti-vesh. And their Shakti is Jnana Shakti. They're very wise. They know all this knowledge. So they keep themselves as children. And Brahma gets angry. And what happens when he gets angry? Shiva comes from angry. Shiva comes out. Rudra means Shiva in his angry form when he's destroying the universe. So then Brahma has to figure out something else to do. So he has other descendants, and some of them, I don't know if Daksha is direct, but I think he may be. But he still has the job of populating the universe. You see. So this is not a, I mean it's a service, because the living entities have to come out and take their forms so that they can take up where they left off and go through the karma again and hopefully meet a devotee and then go to liberation. But there's thousands, and also many perished in the last annihilation, fire and flood. Right, this is what we got here. It's the Kali Yuga in California. In the summer we got the forest fires, and now in the winter we got the floods. So it's a prelude to the end of Kali Yuga. I hope it's the end. Maybe it's going to end soon. In any case, so the last destruction, it's not just human beings who died. There are also all the animals and plants and everything. They're also going to come back as animals and plants, and So it's a big job, a big headache. So he gets angry, and the Kumaras also get angry. When they go up to Vaikuntha, because they're so powerful, they can go up to, but they can't actually get in because they're not devotees yet. Really, they're really Brahmavadis. They're not Mayavadis, but they're absorbed in Brahman. So they come up to the gate, the seventh gate, and the Jai and Vijay are the guards, and they don't let them in because they're not bhaktas. They're not pure devotees of Vishnu. So they get angry. They're not beyond anger. They get angry and they curse them. Actually, I think they have a choice. They can take 7 or 8 births as devotees and come back, or 3 births as demons and come back. So they choose the quicker route. And who do they become? The first set. The first 2? Yeah, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. And there's a lot about them in the Bhagavatam. And then there's the second set, they come Shishupal and Dantavakra in Krishna Lila. And the third set, oh, you're right, Ram Lila, I'm sorry, right. Kumbhakarna and Ravana. And they're both killed. I think Kumbhakarna is killed by Lakshmana, if I'm not mistaken. So, and of course Ravana is killed by Ram. But they don't go back to Godhead. They come back again as Shishupal and Dantavakra, whom Krishna kills. And then some say there's a 4th birth, the Jai and Vijay, and they get actually delivered. But in any case, and the Kumaras, they're so sorry, that they've offended these devotees, because Vishnu, he hears the commotion and he comes to the gate. And as soon as the Kumaras smell the fragrance of the tulsi manjaris on his lotus feet, mixed with the fragrance of his lotus feet, they get a transformation. They become out and out bhaktas, whereas they were Brahmavadis before. They undergo a transformation. There's a famous verse about that. And then they're so regretful, they pray for forgiveness. We've offended these devotees, the Jai and Vijay. And Vishnu assures them, don't worry, it's my plan. It's sometimes Prabhupada explained it. He wants to fight. It's a pleasure in fighting. But who's he going to fight with in Vaikuntha? Everybody's a devotee. Now in Goloka, there's play fighting, Krishna does, but that's another thing. So in order to fight, he has to, who's he going to fight with? His devotees. So he comes down and he fights with Hiranyakashipu, who's basically his devotee. Anyway, it's a wonderful pastime. He appears in the Shringadeva, of course. So the point is, what I'm getting at is that the understanding of the personality of God is difficult by the means, unless you take up the process of bhakti as it was taught by Lord Chaitanya. That's why we're here. I mean, has anyone been born in a great yogi family, and trained in these other things? Certainly those, but maybe you had. I don't know. But I certainly wasn't. But because of the infinite compassion of Lord Chaitanya, Krishna as Lord Chaitanya, he provided this easy process. If you can just somehow become attracted to chanting Hare Krishna, everything opens up for you. Oftentimes what happens is your material life collapses. You can't do it anymore. You know, or Krishna arranges so that it's impossible. You have to take shelter. That's part of his mercy, because we're so stubborn and so conditioned. You know, and there are a lot of people who come a certain ways and they can't take a full step of actually accepting. But the fortunate realize, well, this is really what I'm looking for, and it usually manifests like with Vijay, which is amazing, real attraction for chanting, the chanting of the holy name. It's not that you try a little bit and said, well, okay, I tried that, and let me try something else. I think there's a lot of people who go a certain distance, but there's blockage. You know, there's millions of people who get books, they're interested, they may visit, but then they don't see them again. Unfortunately, there's a lot of devotees who join and take initiation even, and then at a certain point you don't see them again. But those who are fortunate, they get, the bottom line is that you get a real taste for chanting, which means you get a real taste for Krishna. And serving Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna is serving Krishna. And you're struggling to hear nicely and to attend the programs where the chanting is going on. And especially when you go out and have Harinam and you're giving the holy name to others. And of course that's complemented by giving the explanation of why you should be attracted, why you should perform the austerity of chanting Hare Krishna, and why it works. So that changes the heart. If it doesn't change the heart, your heart is steel framed. There's a verse like that. But the heart changes, and that means that you become, the basic point, you become more attracted to Krishna and everything about Krishna. Krishna's devotees, and I mentioned everything like that. It's all very interesting. I remember when I was coming to devotional service, I actually started chanting quite a few months before I joined, because I was just integrating it to my yoga practice, you know. And I invented a practice. You can use it if you want. I mean, not as a substitute, but it's funny because Prabhupada mentions something like this in the books. He says the process of chanting Om and associating with your breath. On the in-breath, Om, you know, of course, it has to be in your mind often. And out-breath, Om. You know, this is a process that the yogis have invented, you know, that works. You can fix your mind on Om. But I didn't know about that, but I just thought, well, how am I going to meditate on, because we were supposed to meditate in our yoga studio, you know, and pick a mantra. So I tried Om, but it was hard. So then I read this wonderful pamphlet about the glories of Hare Krishna mantra. It wasn't from the devotees though. But it was, I said, well, this must be my mantra. And I saw that one painting. This was in the yoga studio. This was from the devotees. Bhardraj had painted Krishna Balaram with that mood, you know. I think he's the one who started that with Balaram's arm on Krishna's shoulder. You've seen that, Krishna Balaram. We have deities like that. Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram in Alatra, probably in Mayapur too. I mean, New Mayapur. So anyway, I saw that painting, and it just attracted me. You know, I'd been chanting already a few rounds a day, so I was interested. And Krishna was looking right at you, and it was so early a painting that they didn't know, oh, we're not supposed to show the teeth. You're not going to, you know, most of the time Krishna's got this smile, like, you know, it's a very subtle, attractive smile, but it's not like that, you know. So it wasn't like he was, but you could see the teeth, and he was looking at you, and, oh, you know. And so I wanted to chant regularly, you know, more. So I started chanting a few rounds, meditating on the holy name, trying to chant in my mind on my rounds in the hospital. And I wasn't doing like Vijay, just chanting, because I had to do so much work. But I was trying to integrate it. And, you know, my little life kind of just became untenable. I had an apartment, had a car, had a job, had a bank account. I was into raw foods. Everything was vegetarian. I was getting very skinny. But I didn't have any attachments, no wife, no children, no girlfriend, no nothing like that. But somehow, you know, I did that for a year. I was living like that. But after chanting, and I started visiting the temple and hearing and meeting the devotees, becoming attracted. It just said, this is, you know, I'm not going anywhere with this. So I prayed to Krishna. I said, please help me to take the next step. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting at a Sunday feast, and I was completely addicted to halva. The halva that they made in Brooklyn was just absolutely incredible. You know, after being a raw food diet for a year, I said, I can't take halva. All right, I'll try it. Once I tried it, it was all over. So I'm eating halva. And this one lady who was famous as a collector, they were collecting money to get the new temple, the 55th Street Temple, the Wisconsin thing. So I think they told him, any guest who has a job, any guy, concentrate on him. So she was telling me, you read the books? I said, yeah, I read some of the books. I said, everything belongs to Krishna, you know that, right? I said, yeah, I know that. I'm going to take yeah. So then I went home and I prayed to the Super Soul. I had this big poster from the temple. Please help me take the next step, And I was trying to chant, and I was hearing in my mind, it all belongs to me, it all belongs to me, it all belongs to me. Okay. So I emptied out my bank account, which was $1,500. That was my life savings, which is a lot more than these. Yeah. So I gave it all to the temple. I didn't give it to that lady who was preaching to me. I gave it to Jadharani. She was really the leader of all the ladies, very transcendental artist. Many of these paintings are by her. So I immediately became the best friend of the temple commander when he learned. But I still have my job, I still have my car, But Krishna wouldn't let me be satisfied. I'm not going to go into the whole details. So eventually I just said, I got to join up. And then it was a place where you could just chant as much as you want, and they wouldn't stop you. You go to these yoga studios, listen, Tom, it's time to stop chanting and meditate, like that. Okay. Here, the more you chanted, the more they liked you, Anyway, it was the mantra, and everything else flowed from that. The Bhagavad Gita and the devotees, especially the devotees, were so nice. And my goodness, Radha Govinda, and it's so wonderful. They're there in Brooklyn again forever now. So the point is that who am I to be a yogi? I can't meet these qualifications. But by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, this process has been made. So if you're simply open to trying it and a little sincerity, and be willing to associate with devotees and especially read Prabhupada's books, then enough purification takes place so you're ready to try the process. That's the thing. Ado shuddha tatak sadhu sangha bhajana kriya. There's a whole step. There's a whole step ladder to go. And the first is a little faith, a little interest, so that you open the book or you come to the temple and hear the classes a little bit. And then you want to practice. Why should I be an outsider? You have any extra beads around? Yeah, okay, come on, try. And this is how you do it. Don't chant with this finger, chant with this finger. We still have one bhakta who's doing that. Not here. Was doing it until I told him. So anyway, that bhajana kriya, that practice, which is basically chanting the holy name in japa and kirtan, Krishna sees that and he speeds up the process. You become more, he gives you more taste, and he gives you more vairagya from your old life. So how could I do that? How could I eat meat all that time? When you learn and you realize, oh, that's horrible, what poor animals. And so that culminates, hopefully, in initiation. That's a very important step, although it's not part of it, is bhajana kriya. And all the while, anartha-nivriti, your unwanted things are being cleansed away by Krishna in your heart. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, doubts, all these things. Why should the doubts persist? I'm getting direct realization. I can feel it. You can feel it in the kirtan. You get swept away, So anyway, then initiation is important. Take vows. You get hooked up to the parampara. A lot more mercy is flowing from all, and mercy comes in the form of more and more interest, and in Krishna less and less interest in and then there's a certain point where your faith is very, very strong. It's called nishta. As we can naishtiki. We chant that verse. Your irrevocable devotional service, right? Irrevocable. So then you're firmly fixed. It says Shraddha, Shabde, Vishwas Kori. This is real Shraddha. Being completely convinced that just by practicing the practices of devotional service, that all my aspirations will be fulfilled. I don't have to do anything else. It's all, my life is all here. This is what I want to do. That's the nishta. And that is accompanied by more and more taste, the ruchi, which is the first hints of asakta, attraction for Krishna, and bhava and prema. It all starts with that ruchi. And so, who can deny this? Everyone's got some taste. You see the deities dressed in the flower outfit. Oh, how wonderful! That's ruchi. Someone walks in and stays in the back of the temple. What are they worshiping these statues for? Or as Bhadri Maharaj says, they didn't even see the deities. They asked what the significance of that fountain is. People guess they come in there. They may be not so attracted, but devotees will see, oh, Radha and Krishna looking so beautiful, like that. So that's a tremendous benefit. So anyway, this mood, what is a very important foundation? Trinadapi zuni chena torapi sahishnana. Amanina manadena kirtadi eksadahari. Forgive me, I always give my poem. More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. To think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant His name incessantly until the final hour. So the idea is that's directly counter to the mood of what Daksha is going to show, where he gets furious at Narada for preaching to his sons and giving them a chance to be Krishna bhaktas rather than big Prajapatis. Well, what happened? He hadn't come to the state of real vairagya and real understanding, and especially humility. And because he's not fit for that, he's got to propagate all these things. So this is his service. So this is all important philosophy, and we should understand it. But we should also understand, Atak Shri Krishna Namani Nambavaigraya Mindurai. We can't understand with our present senses and mind the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna. But if you begin serving, even in ignorance or not, whatever it is you're serving, how? With your tongue, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Ram Hare Hare, and tasting the prasad. Then Krishna sees that, and eventually he reveals himself. That's what this is all about. The whole process here is pleasing Krishna by surrendering to the Guru and becoming very humble and performing the duties and praying and all the processes, so that Krishna will be pleased and reveal himself. Because otherwise, any kind of process that's based on my own yogic prowess, they can't really understand Krishna. We see that again and again. Just like you had me cite that verse last night. Sadhavo vadiyam mayam sadhunam vadiyam tatam maranyam naham tebyo mahagapi. That I'm in the devotees' hearts, devotees in my hearts. I don't know anyone else but them, and they don't know anyone else but me. And there's another verse that precedes that. Aham bhakta paradino. I'm under the control of my bhaktas. So this is Durvasa Muni, great yogi. He created this kritya from his head. I researched. This is a female fiery demoness from a hair in his head. Why? Because Ambarish Maharaj had taken a little water to break Ekadashi, instead of waiting for him to finish his bath so that he could serve him breakfast. Insane, right? So proud, the yogic cities. And why is he getting so much honor? Rage, right? That's the opposite of Rita Ragabai Kroda. So what happens there is that he eventually tries to escape. He creates this kritya, but Ambarish had been gifted the chakra, that he could call the chakra. Now he didn't call the chakra, but the chakra came, annihilated the kritya, went after Durvasa. But Ambarish was just standing there. He says, if I'm to be burned alive, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's Krishna's desire. But he wasn't. He was saved. But Durvasa, he was scared. He started running from the chakra. Running means flying through the air, flying through space, until he came to Brahma. Brahma, please save me, save me. I can't help you. You got Krishna's chakra after. He goes to Shiva. Nothing I can do. He finally goes to Vaikuntha, directly to Vishnu. Bows down to Vishnu and said, please withdraw your chakra. And Vishnu says, nothing I can do. I'm under the control of my bhaktas. He says like that. Then he has this verse about, I don't know anything but them, they don't know anything but me. And finally he says, go back down there to Ambarish. He alone can forgive you and save you. So Ambarish, as soon as, when Durvasa is offering us obeisances, he said, okay, the chakra, of course, release him, because he's not even offended. He's so advanced. But does the Vasa change and become a Bhakta? Not really, you know. But this is a very illustrative point. So the idea is that our whole process is trying to please Krishna so that he'll favor us with progressive realization. Everything depends on his mercy. We can't force anything become powerful in any one way. The power that we have is simply the power of prayer. If we can pray sincerely through the holy name, which is also a prayer, you know, please engage me in your service, Prabhupada said this is what it means. And so many other prayers. Queen Kunti's prayer. We can pray because what's one of the main problems? The mind is wandering. Vijay was mentioning how Bhakti tears is, okay, my mind is wandering, I'm going to, you know, go back a few beads and go, you know, that's one technique. But you can also pray that Krishna will control the mind. There's a famous prayer from Queen Kunti. Try me ananya vishaya mati madhupate sakrit ratamud vahatara dha gange bhaugamadandvati. Anyone can offer this prayer to Radha Giridhari. Oh, it's Madhu's Lord, the Lord of the Madhu dynasty, but it's called Madhava. Everyone recognizes it. Oh Madhava, please ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind. As Ganges torrent flows into the sea, let all my love flow constantly to thee. Anyone can offer that prayer from the heart. And there's a nice variation from that, where in the Leela Chanda by Rupa Goswami, Apispada mode padibada sudha koti modade purana gramanta bhatita valila rasajade manovatsak patam vishya vishagate vishati me kripa yasya turnam damayata babam tarnakapate. Oh Krishna, Lord of the calves, he's a little calf herd. Although the sweet nectar river of your pastimes is flowing throughout the Puranas headed by Srimad Bhagavatam, the calf of my mind has foolishly wandered away from that wonderful nectarian river and gone into a ditch to drink the dirty swill of sense gratification, talks of sense gratification. So, O calf herd, please take your stick, your calf stick of mercy, and bring that calf herd of my mind back to the nectarian stream of your pastimes. It's a great prayer, you know. So there's many like that within the Bhagavatam and the writings of the Goswamis. And it's nice to, Prabhupada said, we should adopt some of these prayers. You know, they're all bona fide. Prayers of Prahlad, prayers of, as it's mentioned, they're all over the Bhagavatam. How much, did you say what the percentage was? Someone was saying a high percentage of the book is prayers. Prayers of personified Vedas, you know. So, you know, even Bhishma Dev, beautiful prayers. We had Bhishma Panchaka, which is 5 days of him lying on the bed of arrows, and then the last day he offers the prayers directly to Krishna in the Bhagavatam. So I think it's the second prayer I memorized, and it's a prayer that all my love will be. You know, here he's a great warrior. Let me just love Krishna. He's looking directly at Krishna. Tribhavana kamanam tamal lavarnam ravakata goda varambadam dadani. And Vapulalaka Kolavatan and Abjam Vijayasake Ratarastume Navadya. So he's the friend of Vijay. Vijay is the name for Arjun, the victor. Vijayasake. So he described it, Chibhavana Kamanang. He's all attractive in all three worlds. Tamalavanam, a blackish complexion like a tamalchi. Ravikata Gold of Arambadang Danani. On his body he's wearing these wonderful silken garments that are glittering like the sun. You know, he's seeing Krishna right there, he came to it. Alaka Kolavatan and Abjam, his beautiful lotus face is surrounded by this beautiful curling blackish hair. The last line. Ravikata Gold of Arambarang Dame, Vapadalaka Kolavatan and Anjam Vijayasake Ratarastume Navadya. May that friend of the victor Arjun, Krishna, may my attraction be drawn to him and not be directed to anyone else. It's just a prayer for loving Krishna. So if you pray like that, you don't have to master the Sanskrit, you can just quote the English. You know, Krishna hears it if it's from the heart. We have to chant from the heart and we pray from the heart and do everything with affection and love. Try to do that. And then Krishna will eventually and progressively reveal himself. So I've gone over time, as I usually do. I have this clock here, but I didn't even look at it once. Any questions or comments, locally or remotely?
Yeah, this.
Yes, I have a question.
Hold on, Vijay Krishna. I have one from Vijay Das.
Yes, I can wait, Prabhu, no problem.
This pastime of Dravasa, I mean, he committed a great offense to a great devotee. Now, it's always a wonder how he was able to enter Vaikuntha.
The only thing I can think of is that it's Krishna's pastime, letting him come to Vaikuntha so that the whole exchange could take place, which is so important. You know what I'm saying? In other words, it seems like an arrangement for that part of the Bhagavatam to come, which is, where Krishna says, I'm under the control of my devotees, I think only of them, it's like that, and he sends it back down. And that if you offend a devotee, don't come to me. You have to go and try to get forgiveness from that devotee. And a real devotee will forgive if you're genuinely sorry. So I think it's a special arrangement. Hare Krishna. Vijay Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Dravida Prabhu. May I?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Can you, if I may ask, can you recite the last sentence of the purport again?
I can.
The prayer by Lord Brahma.
Oh yes. Tatapi Bhuman. One whose heart, this is in his famous 14th chapter,
exactly.
the prayers to little Krishna after the Brahma Vimohan Leela. One whose heart has become completely purified, my Lord, can understand the transcendental qualities of your Lordship and can understand the greatness of your activities.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much. You're very kind. Prabhu, based on this quote, my question is, how great are the activities of the Lord?
What should I say? Very, 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 very great?
No, I need at least one pastime which shows that his activities are great.
Why one? They all show it.
Yes, so many, of course.
They're great in different ways, like the rasa dance. What's great about that, He transgresses mundane morality, but when you study it and you hear, you read in the Krishna book, Prabhupada has all kinds of explanations, you realize that this is the greatest morality. That really, these are all his energies. In other words, all the ladies there are expansions of Radharani, really, and that Ladadi Shakti is also his energy. So there's nothing immoral about it. And and when you read about, really, to understand the rasa dance, it's great to read the 4th chapter of the Adi Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because there's all of this explanation of how love of Godhead is so pure because it's so selfless, and that famous verse, Atmendriya Priti Vancha Tare Bali Kam Krishna Mita Priti Icha Dare Prem Nam. The difference between lust and love. So love, or prema, is a desire to please Krishna's senses. And lust is a desire to please your own senses. Now, it's completely unnatural for the living entity to try to please his senses. The senses, which are, after all, very temporary, they're not him. So that causes all this misery. But the desire to please Krishna's senses ultimately culminates in prema, and it's complete wholesome, moral. So it describes there the gopis, that they dress themselves only to please Krishna, And when they meet, sometimes like Radharani, she sees Krishna so pleased at seeing her beauty that she becomes more beautiful. And then Krishna, he becomes more pleased, and he also becomes more beautiful. And then she becomes more pleased and more beautiful. So it's kind of a mirror, two mirrors, you see they go back, back. So there's nothing impure about it. And it's so great because here's the all-powerful personality of Godhead, who has given this example of the most moral and exalted pastime that is just based on love. It's not based at all on lust, although it seems to be. It seems to be. But it's the greatest, most wonderful display. And when we become eligible to really hear it nicely, of course you read it in the Krishna book, Prabhupada explains it nicely, obviously. But when you can appreciate it, then they see this is the pinnacle of all pastimes. Krishna is hiding all of his powers and divinity, and fulfilling the desires of these gopis who want to be with him, expanding in all of the forms. So there's one Krishna for every gopi. And so he's fulfilling their desires, they're fulfilling his desires. There's not a pinch of karma, but everybody is in complete bliss. Those who can hear it in the right way and those who engage in it. So that's a great pastime. Or do you want like lifting Govardhan Hill? How wonderful that is. He does so many things at once with that. He curbs Indra's pride, whose pride needs to be curbed, right? And he enlivens all the devotees. Usually they can't see him that much. His parents, he goes out to the forest, when will he come back? And then he goes out there and he has to, to meet the gopi. He doesn't see them so much at the time. And then he comes back and he's not with his friends anymore, and they are all in separation, So now in this pastime of lifting the hill, for 7 days and nights, all the people and all the cows and calves in Vrindavan had Krishna's association for 7 days straight. 7 days and nights. So how merciful that was. And so he curbed Krishna's pride, and he, performed this wonderful pastime. When the hill is there, after he lifts it, then, and when they're circumambulating, the hill becomes a form of Krishna, and he eats everything, and again, and whole villages come and give all their food, and he eats it on the annakut, Anior, give me more, and so they all can. It's just a very wonderful and enchanting pastime on all levels. So it's when you delve into any of his pastimes, they're all great and all wonderful and all attractive. That's the best I can do, Vijay.
Yes, but I think we have a problem, Prabhu, if I may, related to my follow-up question. Yes, his activities may be as great as you just explained in a very wonderful way. Thank you for that. But I don't think that his activity related to hearing is that great, because I have been praying for God. Whenever I am in distress, I always pray for God to come to my aid, and He never comes. So is it that he is like how can his capacity for hearing be great if whenever I call him because I am in distress, he never comes? I think that maybe I don't want to be an offender, but because he never comes whenever I call him, maybe he's no better than deaf.
No, I think that you need to keep practicing Krishna consciousness to realize that Krishna is present in his name. And if you call out his name from the bottom of your heart, you'll feel his presence in his name, and you'll feel the protection of his name. Prabhupada was asked, what is your, how do you describe the benefit of Krishna consciousness? Of course, he couldn't say it. He said, fearless. How do you feel? I feel fearless. And everyone would say, wow, to be always fearless in this world? So if you actually practice Krishna consciousness sincerely, you'll feel Krishna's protection even in the difficulties, because the difficulties prevent us from becoming lax in our devotion and taking it for granted, and realizing that we have to be very determined and very strict, and that if you find devotees, the association is so important. Those who are experiencing the steady support of Krishna and the enlivenment, and you can emulate what they're doing. So we always have to feel that the fault is in myself. The fault is not in Krishna, because the fault is in myself and how I'm practicing devotional service. Krishna is there protecting us. We can always think it could be much worse. We keep hearing you coming online. So that means that you haven't yet become homeless without the internet yet, so you have some benefit. So Krishna is giving you the opportunity to associate with devotees and hear Bhagavatam, chant Hare Krishna. So you just have faith and patience. Patience is so important, that you be patient and you'll experience Krishna's full protection.
So there's nothing wrong with his hearing?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Whatever's wrong is in us. We should always feel that way.
Of course, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, very nice class. Thank you so much.
Oh, did you want to ask a question too? I think we need to adjourn.
No, I just wanted
Okay,
to
Danabai,
say
nice to
Hare
hear
Krishna.
from you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for being online rather than flowing. So, anyway, I'm hoping that they're okay on the road. Hari Bol. All glories to Prabhupada.
Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Wonderful class.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. What did I do?